Hey all fluffy gamers. Even with 100 tests, something just didn't add up. I had to dig deeper, and after another 40 tests, I found this. Let's start our test run. Let's speed things up and see if you can spot what I noticed. Look at our CPU usage graph. Seems normal, right? But wait, let's do this again, but this time let's add GPU graph. Did you catch that? Our GPU usage just plummeted. Here is the crazy part. Would you believe me if I said our CPU is bottlenecking? But wait, you might say, the CPU isn't even at 100%. Well, in overly simplified way, we can explain it like this. When our character reaches to the city, there is a flood of information hitting our CPU. Think of it like this. Normally, data gets divided between all cores and threads, but sometimes there is a traffic jam of data in one spot. Even though this data isn't heavy, the sheer volume slows everything down, causing our GPU to slack off. That is a CPU bottleneck in a nutshell. But what can we do about it then? How can we get more FPS and stability? Well, we have few options, and let's jump right into it. Also, let's not even bother to add settings that don't work. And if you're interested more about those, then check out my previous video. So let's start right here in the bottom. Shader preloading. This option doesn't have any effect on our CPU usage. Then we have volumetric fog. Let's set that to medium. It has very low impact. Volumetric clouds. Should you be accidentally looking up in the sky, you will get punished by a CPU spike, so leave that to low. Terrain quality. Doesn't work. Skip it. Light quality. Set that to high. It doesn't give much, but it also doesn't take much. Character shadow quality. Unnecessary. Level of detail. This has very high CPU usage, as it adds lots of light effects and some objects. Not going to use that for sure. Then we have those four. Can you guess what we're gonna do with those? Nothing. That's right. Skip those and jump to vegetation quality. Keep this low. It would need to be on high to affect city visuals, but that would significantly increase the CPU load in and out of the city. Effect quality will stay on low. Anisotropic filtering. This is optional. You could swap this with light quality if you care more about visual details. Next up, texture quality. That will stay. And then we have two shadows. Let's skip those for now, because we have to get a bit deeper with those options. So shading quality, yeah, sadly it's very heavy on CPU usage, so leave that on low. Post-processing, set that to medium. It helps manage excess lighting. Then it's character count. I'll come back to this after we've gone over the shadows, as it is a bit tricky. So view distance, major CPU eater due to the added detail in visuals. Keep this on low. Screen space reflection. Sadly, this also is too CPU intensive. Then ambient occlusion. It has similar effect as post-processing with very low CPU impact. Set this to high. And very top, anti-aliasing. That will stay on low. So let's see what we have done so far. Visually, there isn't too many changes. So let's check if there is any changes in the graph. As we can see, we have increased a little bit of the GPU usage, and that's good. So let's get to the shadow settings.
Oh,
Huh? Oh,
I know.
oh, hello there.
Let me explain that.
Sure, okay.
So, 섀도우 설정은
Wait,
키워드 사이에서
what?
인기 있어요. 일부는
What?
섀도우 설정만 해놓고
Excuse
나머지
me?
옵션은 전부 나중에
I'm sorry,
맞추기도
but I
하고.
don't speak Korean.
Whatever. Just click on subscribe and like button.
Okay, so shadow quality. Shadow setting is popular amongst players. Some use only shadow setting and keep everything else low, so we can set that to high. But before I do that, I wanna talk about distance shadow option. Please do not use that. First, it adds more CPU workload, which we are trying to avoid. Secondly, this setting is one of the least optimized options here. Even the options that don't work are better than this one. Let me show you. Visually we can see a lot of stuttering, and on a graph we can see the frame times going absolutely bananas with this option. So steer clear for this one. And another option that makes our frame times go bananas is character count. Let's take a look how it works. Low and medium levels render in players in about 10 seconds. On high it's about 3 seconds, and ultra it's 1 second or less. Now let's check how it affects our CPU. Low and medium doesn't seem to affect that much, but high and ultra however have large impact on CPU. As you can see, with GPU drop and frame times, it instantly brings back the bottlenecking effect. So my suggestion, keep it low. You might think, but what if we set all other settings back to low? Well, the issue is that GPU usage will drop, and the increased CPU load will result in even longer frame times compared to keeping everything on low. Then you might think, what about using DLSS or AMD FSR? Unfortunately, both of these options also increase CPU usage way too much. But if you have RTX 40 series card, then you can use frame generation button, and that is going to boost your FPS by a lot, making your game flow feel much smoother. Also, to be clear, for any of it to work, we need to have no frame rate limit, unless, for example, you are getting 130 FPS but your CPU is maxed out. Then you can set the limit to 120 or 110. Also, best way to limit is through the graphics card software. You will have more control this way, and it will be much more responsive. And then there is one more thing that we need to keep in mind. For that, let's get out of the city. Let's take a look at our CPU usage over time here. And you see those little bumps? Those happen in every 60 seconds. My best guess is that it is anti-cheat. It may not seem much, but it's better to keep in mind if your CPU is working close to its limits. So let's get back to our settings and see the end results. Question: did we remove the bottleneck? Well, short answer is no. That is job for the game developers. But what we did is we essentially balanced the load between the CPU and GPU, which helps reduce the bottleneck effect and keeps the game feel smoother. Let's check in the graphs. First, we notice graphics card has finally woken up, and the frame timeline is also much thicker. And that means we have more FPS, plus 40 on average. And then we get to the city. Well, we still have a drop, but we are staying strongly above 70% GPU workload, and frame times stay mostly under 10 milliseconds too. And that is how we get much smoother gameplay even when we have other players around us. Our next video will do for PvE minded. Let's see if we get this bottlenecking also in that type of a gameplay, or are we free to use anything we want. If the video doesn't show up, then don't worry, I'm working on it already. Stay fluffy, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.